Hi, it's Peter Temple on March the 23rd and hyped up on coffee. There's a lot going on. So I have been watching the markets this morning. I was trying to, as I was putting together all my charts. If somebody would let me know if you can hear me okay. It looks like we can because I heard me in the background there and that you can see all the charts okay. Then we'll get started. I'm going to start in a different place today. And I'm also going to do a little bit of forward thinking for you in terms of where we're going longer term. Good, thanks, Stuart. And things are changing so quickly right now. Of course, we sort of went sideways for the longest time, and everybody was falling asleep. And then all of a sudden, the last couple of 3 days, it's been a full-time job just figuring out where we're going. I've got a pretty good idea where that is right now, and that really became apparent yesterday and more so this morning. So I think we're going down. I think we're actually going into the fourth wave, the larger fourth wave. I think we're in it. Technically, we're not yet. But if we go down to a new low, then we are. And I'm seeing signs of that in some of the other indices. So I'm going to show you one of those this morning as well. So there's going to be lots. I'm going to be jam-packed today. I'm not going to show everything. Sometimes I go into the other indices, but there really isn't any need because, the Dow and other indices are really doing the same thing. So we'll concentrate on what's actually moving. Here's the Andy Pancholi turn dates. And there are some for today. Now that's the euro US dollar. And that was usually it sort of turns the day after. And so I think we're getting a turn today. There isn't one for the S&P until next week. So that may be the bottom of a B wave or an A wave rather. We'll see, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But I'm not supposed to tell you this, but if you like silver and gold, there's a slew of turn dates right in here for oil. Oil was a couple of days ago, but gold and silver would really be today, and they look like they're turning today finally because gold went up to about 76% retrace. And these things are not being easy for a little guy like me to try and put it all together. So it's just a market that is, you would think, because everything is moving together. And I'll just say for anybody new I think everybody has been here before, but I talk about all the same market. Well, it's really, really obvious now that all the currencies are moving with the US indices. And in fact, I'm kind of getting the same feeling for gold and silver and oil, actually, that they're all seeming to turn around the same time too. So we're not far away from this thing topping, and I'm going to look at the longer term picture for you as well, because I think I'm now leaning towards September, but with some of the stuff that's happening, I don't know if it's going to hold up until then. But I think in terms of the timing on some of these charts, that it really does have to be September, October now. So that's kind of the bad news. I know everybody's chomping at the bit to see this thing happening. Let's start with the S&P, and then I'm going to back up to my charts in ES. It's just because this is live right now, and my charts in ES and NQ are static charts. So this just gives me a picture of where we are. This is let me just get out here. This is going to be a little cluttered, but this is the hourly chart for the S&P 500. And you can see the third wave here. This is the top part of it. This was either a 3 here or a 5. In other words, there's a couple of ways, and this has been making me crazy in terms of numbering this wave. And we had a wave up in here that I said was an ABC. And there is a possibility, because we did get a little tiny fifth wave in here, that this also could be the top of the wave. And so it's really difficult to be able to call that when you just don't have all the information. So it looked like an ABC. Now I'm thinking that was the top of the wave, and we had what's looking like shaping up to be a flat coming down. And I thought the flat idea was dead, but now it's sort of hit back again. And I went, okay, I think we've got a flat coming down here. And I'm just going to jump into, let's say, a 15-minute chart so we can look at that. So here's the top of what I said was, I thought was a 3. I'm now kind of figuring that it is a 5, and if I'm wrong, then we'll go up to a new high. But I don't think we're going to a new high. It's like, where is this going? Top of 3, is it going to be there? I think it's over here now. And when I look at the wave structure of what we have, I'm just going to pull this up. We all know tops may be there. We have an ABC down. That was very clear. We've got an ABC up. And at that point, I said, okay, then this was last weekend. I said, we may be looking at a flat, because a flat is a 3, 3, and a 5. And then we had an extra little top here. And I thought, well, maybe the flat is dead. Well, it looks like it's alive, and I think that's what we're going to get. So let me walk you through this. So this would be my 1, 2, and I'm getting 5 waves now within that 3. And that would bring me down to, this would be, I haven't marked this yet. Let me just move this up a little bit. But this would actually be a larger 3 then. I forgot to put that in there. And this 4 would go away. So technically, and if I show you this, let's just bring in my daily on ES, because I can go to that very quickly. So if we looked at the daily on, I'll come back to the S&P. If we look at this wave up, this third wave up, I've put my 3 here, and of course it's the same thing as the S&P. Is this the top, or is this the top? Right now, technically, we're in a 4th wave because we've come down exactly 38%. But you know, you look at this wave up, and this is starting to be very large. It's also got a lot to do with the look of the wave. So for me, this is a very large 4th wave, and this could have been the 4th just in here, and that a 5th, and we're done with wave 3. And this is an ABC. So if this comes down to a new low, we are in the larger 4th wave. No question about that. So if we get under 23.32 in ES, and I'm already short, and I'm going to show you, get into this ES wave a little tighter here in a moment or two. I think we're coming down in a 5th wave of this final flat wave, like the 5 waver down. So this would be a 3 here, a 3 up, and a 5 down. That's a flat. We've done 3 waves of the flat. We're in the 4th, and we're coming down in a 5th. Now that would end up being the A wave. That means we have to come back and do a B wave, and then we would have a C wave down to complete the 4th wave. And then that just leaves the 5th wave. And if I switch over to just thinking about currencies at the current time, I believe all the currencies are in their final wave now, and that's a corrective wave. And between getting this guy in sync, the U.S. indices, that will put everything in their final 5th wave, and that's what I've been saying all along. Everybody will be in alignment and all hit their highs. So if we come down here, fairly quickly, but it's going to take us another, I don't know, at least a week, 10 days, 2 weeks to finish this off. And then it's just a case of how long to get to a new high. And we don't have to go all that far. We could get to 2,500. I see some of the waves becoming a little shorter now. So that becomes a bit of a challenge as to how far we're going to go. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. But right now, let's concentrate on this. I believe this is coming down, and we're going to have a lot more downside. So here we are back at my S&P. So I've already showed you, this is a 15-minute chart. We've got a 3, a 3, and a 5 unfolding. And had this been earlier today, I would have said that 23.59, 23.60, and it was a different number in ES, 60. I can't remember. I missed it by less than I had a stop in there, and I had to jump in, so I got in late, and I'm actually short. I believe we're going down here. Let me just go into the 3-minute chart just to see what's happening. So here is the wave 5 down, and we had the subwaves here. This puts us at 3. I have a very obvious ABC up here, and this is a 4th wave, which may come up. It just missed the previous 4th, so there is a chance that it will come up and hit that again and then go down. So that's a little bit of a dilemma, something you have to put up with. But this is very clearly corrective, and in ES even more so looking corrective. So this is either going to come down to a double bottom here, 2336, or it's going to go down a lot lower, and that'll finish off a fifth wave of this flat. Okay, you can sort of see here where we've got the third wave, fourth wave, and a fifth wave down. I believe that's where it's going. I see the currencies telling me that they're going to correct some more, so that would also support that. And so that's my look at sort of the S&P 500. Now, I wanted to do that because it's happening now. And then I want to get into now the S&P. So this gets me into my normal sort of routine, looking at the bigger picture. So this is the bigger picture. And I've already talked about this being the top of the third wave, I believe now, and that this will break down and give us the larger fourth. Right now, I have to technically say we're still in the fourth, a smaller fourth, but I think this is going to break down. So let's go look at the 60-minute chart in ES. And here is, you're not seeing all of the the first wave down in 3 from the top. So over here on the left, and I don't know if I can show you that, not quite. So moving it over, we had from the top here, which is this line, we came down in 3 waves. We had this double ending diagonal, then we've got 3 up. And so here is my 5 waves down with a second 5 here, and we had an ending diagonal kind of at the bottom. And now we've got this wave up in what looks like 3 waves in ABC to a fourth, okay, larger fourth and a fifth down. It could come down to a double bottom here, but it sure doesn't look like it to me. This thing looks like it's got legs and it's going to head down. I'm going to jump into the 10-minute chart just to look at this wave structure at the bottom here, because it came down, and here's my ending diagonal with another little wave here. So it didn't really make it an ending diagonal, but it has come up to the start of the ending diagonal anyway. It always does. But it's come up, a larger fourth always comes up to the previous fourth, and that's where we are, and we hit it exactly. And I had to stop just a little bit above that. So it missed it, but we are starting to come down. So here's the wave that's interesting. I numbered this as a motive wave to see whether I could get it to happen or not. I can't get it to happen, and here's the reason why. So we've got a 1, 2, and then we had this. You could sort of say this is a running triangle, but within a third wave, that doesn't make an awful lot of sense. And then we have the fourth wave, which if it didn't go into the area of the first, is pretty darn close. So we get 5 waves up to here, and then we get the larger 1, so that's 5. We get a larger 1, a 2, which almost went down to the bottom, but it didn't. Then we get a 1, which more looks like a 3 to me than anything else. And then we get this very clear ending diagonal. And the problem with this is it kind of went down into a fourth wave clearly in the area of the first wave. So this is, for a lot of reasons, this is corrective, and it says to me, we are coming down. So unfortunately, this is a little later. I can't give you the entry for this. It would have been up here, but I believe we'll at least come down to a double bottom, but I believe we're going down much further than that, and that should be in 5 waves. Okay, so that's where everything is going right now. Coming back to that, this is how it looks. I can't give you a number right now, but I could on the S&P in terms of where it might go to, and I will do that before we leave here. The NQ, this is the NASDAQ. I had tried to do an ending diagonal with this, and this was looking pretty good as an ending diagonal, but it has now come down past the bottom. So this is the fourth wave. This looks like we're going to get a flat here too, 3 down and 3 up and a flat. This thing here is, yeah, I mean, it is looking to be in 3 waves. It's very corrective, but I would have to say maybe that is the top of 3. Of the larger 3. I didn't bring a visual of the daily on the NQ, but it is a very hard wave to analyze. It looks like it may be done, and so that would give us a 4th wave there, and then a 5th wave up. So it seems to be in alignment with the US market. So if I take these and get rid of them, if you have any questions, just let me know as I go. Here is the S&P 500. Now, if I was to look, there's a couple of places I would look to get an idea as to where we are coming down. I'm just going to get rid of this guy and work with my A wave here. So I have an A wave very clearly, and my A wave would tell me that the bigger picture is taking me down either to here. So what you do is you kind of extrapolate from the A wave, and it can either be an extension of the A wave, a Fibonacci extension ratio, or it will be the C wave will be 1.618 times the A wave, or 2.618 times the A wave, or when we get into really big markets, it can be 4.236. So right now that is taking me down. I'm just going to bump on. This is going to get messy, but it takes me, measuring that A wave, takes me down either to 2274 or all the way down to 2193. So this wave down may not go there. This first wave down, the flat, may only take us partially part of that way. And to measure that, let me just go in to the 30-minute here. So if we were to take my first wave here and to sort of extrapolate from the top of the third, this gives me a possible third here, and this doesn't tell me that we're going down all that far. I would suggest that for this next wave down, we're either going to come down in this area here, or we're going to come down to 2330. And I'm just not too sure which. And then we will have a B wave up and a C wave down. So if you're not in this now, if you want to play a small wave, there'd be a small wave down here. I mean, it's a pretty good size wave. It should be, it could be as long as this third wave. Down to either one of these two levels, but probably the ideal now would be to wait till we get this B wave, which should go up 62% of this wave here, and then get the C wave down. So this has got to come down or actually this could be, the other thing I'll tell you, this makes it difficult. This could be all of 4. We will know that if it comes down a really large drop. A flat could be all of the larger wave 4. And it's the difficult thing in this market to be able to decipher that. But a fourth wave should come down, a larger fourth wave should come down. Let me just get ES in here. That's sort of doing this a little on the fly because it's all happened so quickly. It should come down to 2256. So that would be a similar level for the S&P 500. This is the 38% retracement of the entire 1, 2, 3 up. Okay, so that's how you measure it. So that would be the larger 38%. So 2256 is where I would target. And if I was here, that would take me to, somewhere in where this E is here, previous fourth wave. 2268, 2260, somewhere in that area. So that's a fairly large drop. I would not think this wave would be able to do that. We would probably get a flat, and then we're going to get something else, and it'll an ABC, I would think. Okay, so that would be my take on the S&P and where we're going. I hope that is clear. If not, ask me some questions. I want to go, as I'm talking about the U.S. market, I want to go to the New York Stock Exchange, which is telling me the same thing. Now, what did I want here? Number 1, and I want to be on a 4-hour. So here we are looking at the NYSE big picture. This is a 4-hour chart. So we have our 1, 2, top of 3 probably, and here we have an A, B, and a C. We should come down somewhere in this area. Let me get rid of this. Is that correct? Yeah, 38% takes us down to about 11,000. So this wave would probably come down to somewhere in here, and then we would have a B wave bringing us down to the bottom here, is the way I would think if this is going to be a normal market fourth wave. And then we would have a fifth wave up to a new high. So that's looking at the New York Stock Exchange. I want to show you the IWM, which is an ETF of the Russell 2000. Now this one, what did I flag here? Number 2 daily. I'm going to go to a daily chart. If I could click on that properly. And here is the wave structure running up here. And this shows me a first wave, a second wave, a third wave, a fourth, and a fifth. But that could all be of the third wave here. So this actually may be the third. But this looks like a very corrective wave. What I wanted to show you here is we already have a fourth wave. We've come down to a new low here, which to me tells me we're going into a fourth wave, a larger fourth. So that is what I wanted to show you in terms of this is giving it away that we're coming down to a new low for me. And then we have another larger 5 up still to go. So I'm not quite sure of the count here. But this looks like it's probably the top of the third. This just tells me that we are coming down in the indices to a new low, and that should affect ES and the SPX. So that's a little giveaway, and I always look for that kind of thing in the other indices. So I'm always looking at other indices to say, what are they doing? And if somebody goes to a new low, they all have to go to a new low. You're not just going to have one. So this tells me it's a larger fourth, is what it tells me. It's come down below this fourth. It's a larger fourth. So that's why it also lends credence to that idea that we have topped in 3 and that we're coming down. Okay, let me just go see what we're doing here in the 1-minute chart. So we're just correcting. So this is the S&P 500 1-minute chart coming down here. We may do a little second wave here. It looks like we've done 5 waves down. So we may get a little second, or as I said, we could even come up to another high or like a double top here, or up to that previous fourth. It doesn't have to hit it exactly. It needs to get into the area, and then it has to come down, because we did 5 waves down previously. The idea is that, excuse me, that if you have 5 waves down, it doesn't really have to correct anything. You still have 5 waves down. If it was 3 waves down, then it would have to correct that and get right to the previous fourth, but it doesn't. So it just needs to be in that area, and then it should come down. So everything is telling me we're coming down. All right, so that was a little maybe longer than I had to do, but that I wanted to give you a number of reasons why. Let me now get into, if you have any questions on the U.S. indices, let me know. Bottom line is I think we're in a larger fourth, and we have a ways down to come. Now, I want to go into the dollar, and I want to spend a little bit of time on the bigger picture, because I think it's important to take a look at that. This is becoming more obvious to me in terms of where we're going. Sorry, the dollar. And this is going to be a daily chart of the dollar. And here is my numbered chart. And I'm going to look at timing on this as well. Now, for anybody that's been here before, I've shown this chart and shown it as an A, B, C. You can see the white letters, an A, B, C. There's no second wave here, so that tells me that this is a wave in 3. And this certainly looks like a 3 to me. There's no second wave here either. So it's kind of I just think there's no contest. I believe that we are coming back down to the bottom here, because when you have a wave in 3, and this is a larger ABC, and it also measures out, I won't do the measuring for you, but it measures out. So properly to Fibonacci lengths to be corrective. So I believe we are coming up in a third wave now, and we're down rather, and we're coming down here. So let's look at the timing. May 3rd, 2016, we bottomed. And so this has taken us 8 months. We topped here January the 3rd. It's almost exactly 8 months. And if we were to come up or come right back down again, you would guess that we would have typically an Elliott wave somewhere similar to the amount of time. 8 months down takes us to September the 3rd. So we have 3 waves up, has to correct. We're looking at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this all from a Fibonacci perspective, all the measurements make sense for us to come down here. So this is the 38% retrace line. So our first wave came up to 38%, previous fourth, which it should. and we've had a second wave. It looks like we've had 5 waves up in this wave, though. So if the U.S. market comes down, this may retrace and do a double 2 here. And I would say that that is fairly likely to happen. So that would put us in a different 2. Doesn't change anything, but it would just mean that everything kind of works out to have a double 2, and then you start your third wave over again and get up to the top here. So while it seems that everything is falling apart, I note that Sears is in its death spiral today. So Sears looks like it is done. We got Trump Care vote today, which looks like it's not going to be today. It's going to be into tomorrow, which may slow things up a little bit in terms of coming down. We have WikiLeaks and the new thing called the night skies, where all of them, apparently my Macs and my iPhone, have got firmware in them that make it easy for them to listen in on anything I do. And, longer term, I know we're going into a civil war in the U.S. There's just no question, and it's going to be a doozy. But, looking at the shorter term picture here, I'm really siding to go for September, October for a bottom here. And I think that is the top of the U.S. market. Okay, so that means we've got quite a ways to go, and it probably means if you're looking at the New York Stock Exchange or something like that, which I can go to, if I can find it, NYSE, on the other side, is we'd come down in a 4th wave, and then we'd have 5 waves up and a 5th wave, and we'll probably sit up in here over the summer and then just come down, because we have the summer doldrums for a couple of months. It might be a very long 4th wave. I'm just blue skying it now, but that to me kind of looks like what might happen. Now let's go over to the currencies, and the big one is the euro US dollar, which moves in the opposite direction. So I set up a chart for you, which is a bigger picture, and we'll just go out here, a 2-day chart, just to show you. I guess I can get rid of that. That we had a big wave down, a big 3 down, and we have had a triangle. And here's our A, B, C, D, and here was the Trump election, which broke this triangle, which is one of those odd phenomena in Elliott wave, that you can have a major event at the top of a cycle or super cycle wave that actually breaks the last the E wave of a triangle, and it's written up in the Elliott wave principle. It's really interesting. It's about the only time that an event sort of coincides, and I would say that this breaks, and it's also the event. So that's what happened, and we came down in 3 waves. So we actually have an ABC here, an ABC, and we have an ABC here. So this whole wave down is in 3 waves. So we have to correct it. I thought we might just correct to here, but when you take a look at this and you figure out that right in here, Wednesday, May the 4th, was the bottom of the dollar. So it coincides with the same date. And of course, we had the turn here on January the 3rd. That is our bottom. So those 2 dates connect with the US dollar. So this is 8 months down, and this would make it 8 months up. And when you measure a corrective wave, you typically find your A wave, which I've shown several times before, and you can extrapolate from that, and that takes me to this point. So we're either going up, it's in the 116 area, we're either going to top here, or we will go a little further and top with this A level, because I can't tell if this looks like an ABC to me, but there is a chance, although a small one, that it could be 5 waves down. I think it's an ABC. And so I think we will probably go right up to the top. So I believe this length, it's probably going to take us 8 to 9 months to get there. So September, this would be my top now. Rather than 1.13, I think we're going to 1.16 in this neighborhood, either of these 2 tops. Okay, and that is my longer term look at the market. But I just wanted to give you that because all of the currencies are in their last wave. So this would be, when I say the last wave, this is an A, B, C, probably go up in 5 waves. So we're in a third wave now, but I think we've got a retrace coming. I'm going to go through that as I go through the currencies. They're all telling me that we have a retrace of one amount or another coming over the next little while. So A, B, C up to this point 1.16, and that is my long-term look at where we're going. Okay, and we may have some questions about that. And I would think if we came down in 8 months, we're probably looking at something like 8 months to get back up there. And that to me is the top. I've always thought it was somewhere in here we're going to have the top. But when I really got down to measuring the US dollar and figuring out where it was going, daily. This just makes all kinds of sense to me. Typically, and all of the Fibonacci ratios work. And typically, if they work, that's more and more as I work with Elliott Wave, it really is Fibonacci levels that I rely on more than even, well, the wave structure, of course, but within that Fibonacci, it just hits the points over and over and over. And so if you're very clear and you find those and you have measuring from two different sources, you end up at the same place. Typically, your wave is going to hit that. And so that becomes highly accurate in terms of wave counts. Okay, where do I want to go next? So that was the Euro US dollar from the large perspective, looking at it from a daily. Let's go in and look at it from a 2-hour chart and just look at what's happening right now. So this is the bottom of my wave down, and this was in a 3. I mean, if we go back 4 hour, I want to go back further to daily. This is going to get very messy, but here's my triangle, and there's another triangle-y thing here, and here's us coming down to this bottom. So I'm concentrating on this bottom and the ABC up right now. So this is our 2-hour chart here. This, I said, everybody, hey, big opportunity. This was about 2 weeks ago on a Thursday night when the entire market turned and it came down in this wedge. And I'll tell you, currencies turned. Everything turned. It was amazing. And I sat there one night and I made a comment in my Traders Gold area that something odd was happening. And so I said, there's a huge opportunity. And so if you took that, you've done very well in the euro. But the euro now has come up to a previous high. Okay, this would be a previous fourth wave, which tells me that we have done one wave. Although trying to count this thing, if we come down, that'll be good. But I'm having a hard time counting this without overlaps. I can see 5 waves here. I can see a 1, 2, 1, 2. And maybe that's what we get. But I think now we've now done one wave up. I'm not sure that I have the number correct on that. It might be a first wave, which would make the most sense because it's come up to the previous fourth. And I think we're looking for a second wave down now. And I think we're going to have a very large drop to about 106.193. So that's what it's telling me, and that is the 62% retrace right there. So 1.06, I've changed it a little bit, 204, somewhere in that 1.062 area. That looks like what's happening. It will come down in 3 waves. Okay, so that is, and then we will start into the third wave up, the larger third wave. So if we would look at this, we have got a first wave here. This looks like the first wave of the third, and I think we're going to come down here in a 2. This would support going into the fourth wave in the US market right now, okay, because they're all moving in tandem. So I'm looking at this and saying, this makes a whole bunch of sense to me. So I think that's what's happening, and then we will go into that larger wave that I showed you. Go back to the daily, and I think I wanted to be on 1. So here's that wave. I'm on a daily now. An A, B, this may turn into a 1, 2, 3, but this would be the first wave of the third. If we get a retrace down here to where I said 106.2 area, then we would go into the larger third after that, which should also put us into the 5th wave in the US indices, and I would think we would finish those together. Okay, so that is my prognosis on a large term scale and what I see happening right now. So that's the euro. Let's go into the Australian dollar. I'll go through all these US dollar currencies one by one here. Oh, let's do it with this chart. This is a mess. I want to get to the 2-hour chart, I think, here. I've got a couple of charts for that one. I didn't list what they are. But here is the wave up. This will be a bit messy, and I apologize for that. But we had one wave up here, and we had then a retrace. I've got this somewhere a little simpler. I know, here we go. So we had one wave up here. This looks, I really think that this wave now has entered its final wave as well. And again, this is the point where everything turned. All of the US dollar currencies turned that Thursday night. I was sitting here watching it, and I didn't realize it was such a large turn at the time. I expected this to do 5 waves up, and it looks like it has. And I expected it to come down to 62%. It didn't get anywhere close. It came down to about 38%. So I had kind of a bad call on that because I expected this to head back down here, and it did not. So I'm now looking at 5 waves up. That looks very motive. There's your 3rd wave. The 4th wave does not come into the 1st wave. So I would have to say this is a 1st wave of the 5th wave up. And I think what we're doing today is starting to come. But now I could get surprised. This could be also the 5th wave of this wave up. That is a possibility. It's a very much larger wave, and we actually could come all the way down here to 0.738. So we have 2 possibilities here. We're either going to correct this wave up to 0.758, which would be 62% of this wave, or we will finally come down and hit this larger 2. I'd like to see that happen because I've never seen a wave not retrace at this level 62%. So I'm kind of inclined to think we might come all the way back here, which would also take an awful lot longer than just coming back, obviously, to here, which might also align with the larger 4th wave in the US indices. So we're going to have to see what happens, but we're definitely got some more downside. And we've got 1 or 2 of those levels. Wherever we turn, we're going to be in our final wave up, and that will align with the 5th wave in the US market. So that's why I think this one may be the straggler that is not in its final wave yet. We may come down here and get a 2nd wave, but we have more downside still to go. Okay, so that's my take on that one. This is the one I'm not as sure about. Let's go into the pound US dollar. This one is another little problem child, and somewhere I have a very much larger 4-day. Here we go. This is a 4-day actually, and it shows the entire wave down that we're dealing with. This is a corrective wave, and eventually it has to do a 2nd wave. So we've got an A, B, C. My C has gone missing, but it used to be there. So it's a big ABC corrective wave, and you can see the 5 waves here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in my C wave. So we look like we have now bottomed and turned. We did a double bottom here. We actually missed it by a few pips, but I'm now resigned to the fact this is what's making this so difficult. We're getting a lot of fake outs in this market right now, where we're getting waves missing points and coming back and hitting them, and sometimes not hitting them and moving forward. So there's a little bit of guesswork right now in terms of keeping us all safe here. But I think we've had a 1st wave up now, and we now have bottomed very close to the bottom. So I'm going to go into my 2-hour chart here, and just 4-hour chart maybe, and just show you where we are now. So here was one of my double bottoms. I don't think I can widen out to show the other one. No, and so this is a wave up, a 1st wave, looks like. But we had the 4th wave in the area of the 1st. So again, just by a few pips. So it's one of these things where you kind of go, well, is that corrective, or do we just close our eyes and pretend that it is a motive wave, or it's a 1st wave up in 5, because the 1st wave has to be up in 5. So it looks like a 5, other than that little faux pas in there. And then we came down in 3, and I thought we were going down to a double bottom because of this problem in here. But I'm now resigned to the fact that we turned, because this was the same turn date on that Thursday night that everything turned. And I now think this is a very deep second wave. And if I go into a 2-hour chart, you can see my numbering on this one. I'm actually counting 5 waves up to sort of a previous high here. I'm not sure if we're going to make it before we get a second wave retrace, and that's what I'm dealing with right now, because the second wave retrace, this looks like it could be a full 5 waves, or we could have a little bit more to go. But it looks like I've got 5 up, and I would think we would retrace here. If we retrace to 1.227 around about, that would be a terrific entry point for the last wave up. Okay, and I think looking at this, that's what's happening. This looks motive, a lot of overlapping waves, but I can make them work. I can see 5 waves within the third, and I see 5 waves up within the fifth. So I think that's what we're dealing with here, and that we actually have turned. So there's another one that has turned in favor of the final wave. Let's go over to the US dollar, Canadian dollar. So this one, here's the 2-hour chart. This one as well, I hope you're kind of familiar with this one, because I'll skip some of the preamble here in terms of where we are. We topped, again, very close to a double top. This one just went really deep and turned, and now we have done, I suppose, well, not even arguably, we've done 5 waves down. So we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Apologize for all the lines, but they're there for a reason. I'm going to get rid of a couple with that one here. So here is my bottom wave. This to me looks like, well, I'm going to kind of measure this just to show you. If we take a measurement of this entire set of waves down, the 62 retrace line is right here at 1.343. We went up and did not hit that with what now looks like an A wave. So we've come down in 5. That means we need a second wave. I had measured from here thinking we were going to get a second wave of this sort of middle set of waves. And that took us to 1.34, which I marked as a top. And we turned there, sure enough, and came down. But we came down into what looks like 3 waves to me. We're starting, and I can see that happening now. I called for us to head back up. I think we're going to this 1.343, and that would be a second wave, and means we would then head down into a large third. And that would give us an ABC, which I can make work from a Fibonacci perspective as well. And in fact, if I take out this line, and let's just pretend that's exactly where we're going. All of my Fibonacci numbers and work from here, because if we then measure this first wave down and we say my third wave should go down to a previous low, in fact, 1.618, which it should be, takes me down into this area right here. So that all seems to work for me. And that means we're going down to about 1.3, a nice round number. So that would be a third wave, and it may go down much further. The third wave may be very much longer and may go down to 2.618, which would take us down to this area. Let's just go look at that and find out where that is. It is down, well, it doesn't really hit anything in particular. So we'll see whether it's going to be the first third wave or what it's going to be. But I think I'll get back to my 2-hour chart here. I think we are headed back up to 1.34, and that would probably be slowly, and that might be all of the fourth wave. Now, the other option for this is that maybe I'm wrong on this 5 waves down. It could go back up to a top, but I don't think so. So what you're looking for a big third wave down is an entry at 1.343. If it goes much above that and not very much above it, like 1.344, like 1.344, then I would not be, I would think it would probably go to a new high. But I think we've got 5 waves down, and I think we are in our final wave here, and our final wave has got a long way to go. If I show you this, I think, yes, on this chart here, has to go to 1.19. I guess that was the chart. Here we go. Let's go to a, so this is the big opportunity as far as I see, is that we have got a longer term, a big third wave up here, and we have an A down and a B and a C. This is a 2-day chart. So this is the big picture. So we finished our B wave, and we're now embarking on the C wave, and that is our final wave, and that would be the top of the US market. We have to get from here to 1.19. That is a big drop, and that is a great opportunity for a swing trader. So 1.143, looking at that, would be the place that I would want to look at being in. Okay, and just hopefully it doesn't go beyond that, and that becomes a good solid 2, because everything looks perfect at the moment. That's the US dollar, Canadian dollar. Okay, let's go over to the US dollar yen. Somebody had asked me yesterday, does my prognosis on this one change any of the other currencies? The US dollar yen currency moves separate from everything else because it moves with the US dollar, but it is the yen. And so the yen isn't connected to any of the other currency pairs, so it very often moves on its own. This has been a bit of a conundrum, and I want to go out to a daily chart here and show you what I think may still be happening. Let's just measure this here. I had expected, yeah, I'm exactly right. So this line is the 38% retrace. This line here, 38% retrace of this entire wave up. This, to me, while it could be the end of it, looked like it needed a 5th wave up to the top, and this is still an ABC wave down, although it went past the 38% retrace level. So is it a 4th wave, or are we starting down in a longer drop? This looks like it's done 5 waves down here. I still think this is an ABC, but it has to turn here to head back up to a 5th. So I think this is questionable. I want to go back into the 2-way, let's go to a 4-hour chart. My 4-hour chart shows this mess down, which is very clearly a wave in 3. I mean, it's all overlapping. It really is a mess, which tells me that it should retrace right back up to the start. So that is my preference on this. This is 5 waves down, but it also looks like an ABC to me. So things are still telling me that we're going back up to the top, but I just want to caution that if we start to head up here and we only go 62% to, I mean 62% of this amount, which would be 1.137, or we go up to the top here at 1.15 or 115.5, that there is a chance we could head back down again. So this one is questionable right now for the retrace. The big opportunity is to, if it does retrace, get in here at 118.63, because this thing is coming down. It's coming down one way or the other. It's just a case of where is it going to turn. But with the turn in the US indices, I would think that this would head back up, and we will get our 5th wave together, because this wave down here would coincide with a 5th wave in the US indices. That's what's supposed to happen. So 4th wave, 5th wave, and then this is the bottom and the top of the US market. So that would coincide, because the US dollar yen is probably going to coincide with the US dollar, and this would be, again, we expect the US dollar, or I expect the US dollar to bottom when the US market tops. Okay, so everybody's been pretty quiet. I'm doing fairly well for time here, so I should be to the hour. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to leave the currencies. I've done all of my currency pairs connected to the US dollar. So I hope you see the bigger picture here. Everything is moving more or less in parallel, the entire market. And this is worldwide, because I'm going to show you AEX and the DAX. And they are moving into a 4th wave, it looks like, as well. and they would have one more wave up. So we're talking about internationally, we're very close to a top, although it still may take us to September to get there. I just see us being, one more wave away from it. And if you talk about what's going on in the world from a fundamentals perspective, we've got Deutsche Bank that's on its last legs. We've got a number of things happening that just tell us that we're getting close. In fact, I just wonder how this thing can hold up the U.S. market through one more set of 5 waves. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm going to go now to TLT. So TLT, I just want to show the big picture on here, and it's number 2. So I have this all marked up, and we came up. This is bonds. This is the 20-year Treasury bonds. And this is an ending diagonal. I have a number of lines here for a reason. I'll tell you about those. But there you can see the ending diagonal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we came down in a very motive wave. And I'm going to go into a daily chart just to explain what's going on there. So here is our daily chart of this wave down. I have been expecting to get a larger fourth out of this, and I went back into this, and I realized that I sort of missed a second wave in here. So we have a 1, 2, and then we have 5 waves down within this third wave is what we're getting. So typically when you have or typically all the time when you have a motive wave, you're going to have 3 waves or 5 waves rather within the third wave. Because Elliott wave is fractal in a motive series of waves, you should be able to find 5 waves within the third wave. So this is what we have is a smaller 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it came down to just a little new low there. I was expecting it to head up from here into the fourth, but it became very obvious when we went down and just did a double bottom here. It actually is lower, so we actually have done a final 5th wave. So that gives us the bottom of 3. We are now, as I called for, headed up into a 4th wave. So we should do an ABC. I don't know if we're at the top of the, what does this measure out to? Let me get rid of this so I don't have conflicting Fibonacci. Well, it certainly could. So this could be right here, the top of an A, or it may have a little bit more to go, an A wave. This should go up in 3 waves, an A, B, C. And it should go up. This is the actual 38% retrace level, but there's a great big gap here. And so I'm suggesting that our 4th wave will probably go up to fill that gap. So in an AB, I don't have my ABCs on there, but this should be an A, and we'll have a B, and we'll have a C. So that's what I'm expecting. So an A and a probably a deeper B. But we're heading up. The larger move is up, and then we will turn in a 4th, and we will have a very large 5th wave down to a new low and a lot more. Okay, so there's my prognosis on TLT. So it's up for a while and then down. Okay, so let's go look at gold and oil. I'm going to do oil first. Oh, and I'm on my right chart here. So this is oil, and I'll just go show it anyway. We're in a very large 4th wave triangle here, and we came down as this is a 2, this is a 3, 4 triangle, and a triangle is a continuation pattern. So we will come in from the top and go out through the bottom. So it tells us we're going under $25 for the price of oil. So let's go back into our daily chart. I do have a subwave for this. I don't know how much it's going to help us, but so we are in a triangle. All the waves are in 3s. We have an A, B, C here. We have an A, B, C here, and I'm expecting an A, B, C here as well, down to about $32. And we're in the A wave right now. So I think we've actually topped on this fourth wave, and we're probably heading down now to finish this A wave, and then we should have a B wave and then a C wave down to the bottom. So there is an opportunity here to get into this. I don't like to get in partway through a wave, so if you have it back up on you, that's a bit of a concern. So if you're not in this, if you got in this up in here, which I'd said it was probably going back up to a previous fourth, it didn't quite get there, but it got very close. And so we might be done and heading down into this fifth wave of what I perceive to be the A wave. I do have oil in here. Here is oil. So this is taking a look at this whole wave down, in fact, from this high here, which I was looking for a new high, but we didn't get it. There was a real question as to what this first wave down was. Here's the high that I just showed you. So we had what looks like an ABC. I would say it was an ABC, and it would be a zigzag. And then we went sideways, and now we have what looks like 5 waves down. So we're at the bottom of that. This went back sort of to a previous fourth, which was actually up there. But it didn't get there all the way, but we're now down to a new low. So that is suggesting to me that we're probably going to head down in a longer fifth wave here. And so that's what you're seeing on this chart right here, is you're seeing us heading down into what I think will be an A wave. We still could back up to this previous fourth, but I don't think so. I think we're on our way now. And then we will get a B wave, which will come up. Doesn't have to go up 62%, but it will come up in that area, and then we will get a C wave down to our target. So a better place to get in is to play this C wave, but I think it looks pretty. Once we get 5 waves down, there's also the ability to play this B wave up as well, which will go up in 3 waves, and then we should have 5 waver down. So this looks like we're going to get a zigzag, 5 waves, 3 waves, and 5 waves, and so that's the way it should work its way out. Okay, so that is oil. Gold, where are you there? I can never find gold for some reason or other. So this is the daily chart of gold. It's taking its time. There we go. And here is my numbering scheme on gold. Now, I had thought we were going to come down to a double bottom here. I'm thinking less so now because of how far this has retraced. This does look an awful lot like an ABC to me, though, but I suppose I could say it is a 5 waver up. When you get into, we're all in corrective waves right now, so that when you get into this corrective wave area, you've got an awful lot of leeway in these waves. When you get into motive waves, you don't have any leeway. They have to conform to strict waves, but we're in these corrective waves. So when you get a 5, and this should be a 5, right now it looks like an ABC to me. If it's going up higher, it should be a 5, and that's the dilemma. The look of it is an ABC as far as I'm concerned. An ABC would mean that we are probably coming down to a new low. But the measuring right now is not really telling me that. And so we will come down to at least 111.77 because the A wave down should at least be the length of the C wave. Let me just move this out of the way here. It's getting in the way of my. So here's the length of my A wave. I believe we're at the top of the B wave now. So that says we're coming down to this previous little B, which makes sense. And that would be now about 1180. And we could come down 1.618 down to the bottom here. But all I can tell you is I know we're going to get down to 1180. It'll be a bonus if we get down to the bottom here. Okay, because this has gone up so far now. But if you go look at the subwaves, which we will do as soon as I find it, gold. Here is the subwave for gold. And what I'm showing you is just this area in here. Okay, this is a, what is it, a 4-hour chart. So here we get the wave down. So this is my A wave. And then we had an A, B, C up. I can count 5 waves within this, which tells me that this wave should be done, and it has started to come down now. So I would say that if you're interested in gold, your entry is in this area and where we are now. And I think I'm looking at 1245 is where it was earlier today. And I can probably pull it up on a little iPad that I've got with me. I don't have another chart handy that I can get at just to show me. I'm at silver right now, silver and gold. Where are we right now? We are at, yeah, we've come down a little bit. Well, it's still 1245. So we're still at the same spot here. We haven't moved. I think we have now topped, although we could go back and do a double top here. I think this is essentially done, and that you have a good opportunity here to get in and go short on this. Options, of course, is the best way to go because gold is just moves in such big numbers. So I would say that, just to recap, we've got our C wave down. That's for sure. And it just is a question right now as to how far it's going to go, but it should get to 1180 anyway. And then we're going to get either at this lower level or here at 1180, we're going to get a very large wave to the upside. So you could wait to find out and get in at the lower level, and that's going to be a very long wave up to the top. Okay, and that may be the top of the U.S. market, so we'll have to see what happens. And another reason why I think this may come down all the way, the other reason is silver. Now, if you go over and look at silver, silver is a little different situation in that it really hasn't retraced all that far. So we've got the same way. This tick is, this is a bad tick here. So this came down in an ABC, and this looks like three waves for sure, much more than gold. So I would say that we are probably coming down to a new low. And if I measure this wave, this tells me that we are probably coming down quite far here to at least 1592, and we could even come down further. And if we come down this far, that suggests gold will come down to a double bottom. But this one has not retraced as far as you would think it. It doesn't have to go to 62%, but it is obviously a lot weaker and has only got up to about 50%. I'm going to show you that in a subwave as well. So I'm showing you really the same area here. This is a 4-hour chart, and this is the wave down. I've put some Fibonacci lines on here. I don't know if you can see them, but we have an A, B, sort of a C, another A, B, C up here. This is in three waves. It's a zigzag. So this looks like it's done. This is the 50% retrace level. Here's 62. So it looks like we're done here because I can count even a zigzag up in here. It looks like we've pretty well finished and are heading down. So this one, I would say, has topped, and that's a good short right now. And so that should head down either the same length, which doesn't make an awful lot of sense to me, or that'd be $15, $16, or down to $15. So one of those two levels for this wave down, and that's the C wave. Again, it's got to come down in a C wave, so it's just a case of how far. And that wraps up silver and gold. I want to run across the ocean here to DAX and the and AEX. So DAX, where are you, DAX? Here's DAX, and this is a daily chart. And this one, I'm going to go, I guess I'm going to have to go to a 2-day to show the whole thing now. It's getting that long in the tooth. So what we have here, this is a 62% level here, but we've got an blue letters A, B, C. This is a 2-day chart. And this is obviously a fourth wave. We're not quite at a new high, but this looks like it's come down very strongly in what might be the start of a larger fourth wave, because we already have a fourth wave of the third. There's a third here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. So it is questionable as to whether this is the larger fourth or not, or we're just going to do a little 4 up. I think it may be the larger 4 and should come down to the previous fourth in this area of about 11,455. I'm just kind of eyeballing it right now. But if we are in the larger fourth, that's where it's coming down to, and we need to get to a new high, obviously. So the big picture here is that we are moving in the same parallel direction as the U.S. markets, and everything is going to top pretty well at the same time. I'm looking for, at some point, I think we're starting it now, a fourth wave and a fifth wave up to a new high. So that is the DAX, just a broad view look at that. And if we go to AEX, way up at the top here, it's already at a new high, which is just extraordinary. I guess it's happy times over in the Netherlands. This is a daily. This is a 2-day chart right now. I'll just go back to a daily. So no, I guess I'm going to be on a 2-day. 2-day again, long in the tooth. So we've had a first wave up. I know it's overlapping numbers here. We had a first wave, second wave. This I would put as a third wave, very long third wave, and a fourth wave, and a fifth wave. So this one's virtually done as well. This is a larger third. Actually, I shouldn't have numbered these. I should have made these, I suppose, different color. But this is the final fifth wave. I would want to see a good drop in a fourth wave here, probably to this previous fourth, which is 480, somewhere in that area, a little lower, 480, and then heading up into a fifth wave, and that would be the final wave for AEX. Okay, it's oh, and I want to show you, I just noted something this morning. I'm just going to go over to Apple here just to show you what's happening with Apple. So we have a final, let's get out a little wider. This is a 3-day chart. Third wave, fourth wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth wave. So we're getting very close on Apple, but this is very clearly 3 waves up, 1, 2, 3, and we need a 4 and we need a 5. So this is sort of telling me, I mean, Apple is one of the icon stocks, of course, and it's going to move with the overall market. So this is telling me that we're just getting ready for a fourth wave down here, and we've got a fifth wave still to go. So that is my another look at the dollar on a 2-hour chart. I only have a daily that I can get to on the dollar. That's my overview of the markets. I can show you a dollar. Oh, I can show you, I'll tell you what I do have, not on the 2-day. I did pull off, let's just go to the dollar. Where are you at? This is a daily. That's as tight as I can get in on this guy here. But I did pull off this morning a static dollar chart, which just shows you these waves down. And I've got, so this is not a 2-hour chart. This is a, what is it? This is an 8-hour chart. And so we have the wave down here, which I called my first wave. It also looks to me like an ABC. So that's a little concerning to me. And then this is very obviously a corrective wave. And then we have a 2-wave because we have overlapping waves. These are all overlapping. Then we have a second wave here and coming up in a third wave. And this is a one right here, 2, 3. You would think we'd get a 4 and a 5. This might be the first wave of the third, and then we would get a second wave down. It's either that or we will get a double 2 here. But this looks like it is ready to come down one way or the other, or it's very close to. It's just so close to this double bottom here that I would think it would be first. My guess is that's a guess, mind you, first wave of a third, and that we will either come down 62% or to a double 2 here, which is happens quite often as well. So looking at the larger chart, that would mean we would come down 62% to around this level 101, say, or down to a double 2 if the US market comes down in its fourth wave now. So this is a daily chart. It doesn't update live, so that's the most I can show you on that. Okay, Robert, so that's where we are there. Let me just go into the S&P as we finish this off and see what we're doing there, because this chart is live. And we have come, so that looks like we might have done 62%. Exactly, actually. So 62% right there, just about hit it. Yeah, we did hit it. Okay, so that looks like we have a first wave down, second wave, and this looks like it should keep going to me, except there's no little second wave in there, so we would have to get another little second, or this will go back up. It's just without this vote happening, you know, we could just wander around here for a day, who knows, before we head down. But heading down looks like is where we're going. It just, because we have what now looks like, if I were to consider this in here, This is actually, I would have to consider a 3, but in the longer scheme of things, I would assume we are heading down. I don't want to see us above 23.55. Let's put it that way. Okay, so you do not want to be above that point, but it looks like we're heading down now. So we'll see how things shake out there. Any other questions? Anything you wanted me to look at? I'm done my program. What's my time? 1:10. Yeah, I did go a little bit over, so I apologize for that. I try and like to keep it to the hour-long length, but I did give you the longer-term picture, which I think is really important to just understand where we are going and how everything seems to be just moving in tandem. And I've been saying that now for a year, and everything is getting tighter and tighter and tighter in parallel. And so that is helping with the longer term picture. So if there are no other questions, I think the next 24 hours is going to be really interesting. That's going to tell us whether we're in a fourth wave or not. I think this is going to come down. We're just seeing it kind of inch down here. It's going to come down whether we have a vote or not. And as it gets later in the day, I haven't looked at the news, but it looks like it is not going to happen today. So it may happen before the weekend, but it's looking pretty negative. And typically when you get into this, that would certainly, psychologically should coincide with a fourth wave, because you should have negative things happening at this point if the market is coming down. It sort of I always say that the market, people react to the market, and if the market is going into negative territory, negative things start to happen. It's not the other way around. The negative events do not change the market to any great degree. It might have an effect on it in a day or over a day or two, like you have the Fed meetings and things, but you can generally tell where it's going to go, and it isn't going to change its overall direction. That's for sure. So the events happen because of the market and where the market's at. Anyway, thank you very much for being here. Be very careful out there. It is a dangerous market, and I think it's going to be that way until we get into this fifth wave. But things are getting it takes me about twice as long going through the market because doing my analysis, because there are a tremendous number of fake outs, because all of these waves are different lengths, and of course they all have to stay in tandem. So you're getting some things backing up on themselves and hitting things twice they wouldn't normally do, and it just makes things really difficult. So when I say dangerous, that's the primary reason why. It seems to be okay to analyze this thing, but it's just some of these things that back up on you when you don't expect it and just do retraces out of the blue is what keeps me on my toes. Anyway, you will be getting within the hour for my Traders Gold people. You'll find it in the usual place, and I'll put a link. I'll actually be sending you an update on the chart show, and for everybody else, you should get a copy by email within the next hour or so. And if you don't, let me know, Peter at worldcyclesinstitute.com, and I will make sure I get you that copy right away. Thank you very much for being here. Stay safe in the market. Make some bucks.